Some kids find an interesting spot up on Oak Island offshore Nova Scotia. They dig, and they find some stones laid in, they find some planks, things that would have to be man-made. So they're sure they're onto something. It was the end of the piracy era, right? So everybody's thinking buried treasure. No matter how deep they get, they keep finding more planks that appeared to be concealing something. They give up at about 20 feet deep because they're digging by hand. And then there's a succession of people come back and they keep digging and they find more platforms every 10 feet and they find more odd stuff. A bit of chain, all kinds of wood that shouldn't be there. Down about 90 feet, they find a stone that's inscribed with strange engravings. Finally, someone else comes in and they find that the shaft, it was actually booby-trapped, that there's a flood tunnel to the ocean. And all of a sudden the water floods it.
When The Curse of Oak Island TV show arrived at the bottom of the money pit, they were faced with a horrifying discovery, which prompted a quick turn of events. The Oak Island team diligently monitored the excavation of the B4C shaft in the money pit zone and discovered large traces of both silver and gold. This finding aroused speculation among the team members, with some believing they had discovered the original money pit location or a passage leading to a buried treasure vault. Their confidence was strengthened by the discovery of a tunnel at the 90-foot mark, which indicated proximity to the famous money pit. Updates on the Oak Island expedition continue to excite history fans, providing a riveting insight into the island's unraveling mysteries. Join us as we reflect on this incredible search for the undiscovered treasures of Oak Island. Blast from the past. The Oak Island tale is one of the most intriguing historical mysteries that is yet to be solved. Many stories of wealth and ancient secrets have been told about this small island off Nova Scotia. Because there is very little reliable information concerning early treasure-related activity on Oak Island, most accounts are based on word of mouth and are said to date back to the late 18th century. It wasn't until decades later that publications became aware of such behavior and looked into the stories involved. The first documented account of a treasure discovered by a settler called Daniel McGuinness appeared in literature in 1857. It took another 5 years before one of the supposed first diggers released a statement about the original narrative by early settlers that was first recorded in print in 1863. The story of Daniel McGuinness, a curious young boy from 1796, may be the most captivating. Imagine a sunny Oak Island day with foliage rustling and seagulls calling. Daniel, a boy, wandered the island on such a day. While wandering, his acute eyes noticed a circular hole in the ground, formed by a tree with its branches oddly cut away. Daniel approached this strange sight for a closer look. He saw then that the branches had been purposely cut, creating a pulley. This discovery sparked memories of pirates and buried treasure chests told by elders, and amplified by imagination. Daniel enlisted his best friends, John Smith and Anthony Vaughan, to solve the riddle. They set out to discover Oak Island's secrets. The trio dug with shovels and youth. Their efforts paid off when they found flagstone 2 feet below the surface. This discovery only strengthened their resolve. Digging harder, they found layer after layer of oak logs, evidently organized in a planned manner. They kept on for days, determined to discover the island's secrets. They met an impassable barrier that blocked their route to further discovery as they dug deeper. They persisted, but it was pointless. Despite their greatest efforts, they couldn't cross the mystery barrier. Oak Island was determined to maintain its secrets for now. They forgot their failed expedition after years. Theories about the origin of the treasure. The original story by early settlers that was first recorded in print in 1863 involves a dying sailor from the crew of Captain Kidd, in which he stated that treasure worth £2 million had been buried on the island. According to this earliest theory, the pit held a pirate treasure that Kidd and Henry Avery reportedly took together, and Oak Island was their community bank. Another pirate theory involved Edward Teach, Blackbeard, who said that he buried his treasure where none but Satan and myself can find it, prompting conjecture about buried gold. On the other hand, William S. Crooker has suggested that Templars, Masons, or Incas, seeking to squirrel their treasure away from European persecutors or Spanish conquistadors, may have created the money pit. But Crooker also had a second theory, according to which it was more likely that British engineers and sailors dug the pit to store loot acquired in the British invasion of Cuba during the 7 Years' War. John Godwin also supported this theory, saying that given the apparent size and complexity of the pit, it was probably dug by French army engineers hiding the treasury of the fortress of Louisbourg after British forces captured the fortress during the 7 Years' War. Other possible explanations include the pit being dug by Spanish sailors to hold treasure from a wrecked galleon, or by British troops stationed there during the American Revolution. One of the rather bizarre speculations about the treasure's origin says that it may have belonged to the French Queen Marie Antoinette. One story holds that Marie sent her maid to Nova Scotia to hide her wealth and diamonds. Speculation suggests the French Navy was involved in this secret mission. Marie was captured at Varennes without jewelry or gold, suggesting she stashed her wealth on Oak Island. Another idea states that the Rosicrucians and its supposed leader, Francis Bacon, planned a covert scheme to transform Oak Island into the home of its mythical vault, using creative methods to conceal ancient writings and artifacts. Researchers and cryptographers like Peter Amundsen and Daniel Ronstam claim to have discovered codes concealed in Shakespeare, rock formations on the island, and hints hidden in other 16th and 17th century art and historical records. The Onslow Company. The Onslow Company, one of the earliest organized groups to undertake an excavation on Oak Island, embarked on their ambitious treasure hunt in 1803. Located off the coast of Nova Scotia, Oak Island had already garnered a reputation for its mysterious money pit, where previous explorers had discovered intriguing signs of human activity and engineering feats dating back to the late 18th century. The Onslow Company, named after its founder Colonel Robert Archibald Onslow, was driven by tales of buried treasure, believed to have been concealed by pirates, possibly even by the notorious Captain Kidd or the Knights Templar. The company intensified efforts initiated by earlier treasure hunters, convinced that significant riches lay hidden beneath the island's surface. Utilizing the technology and methods available at the time, they dug deeper into the money pit, encountering a series of wooden platforms every 10 feet, suggesting an elaborate, purposefully constructed shaft. At around 90 feet, they discovered a mysterious stone bearing undeciphered inscriptions, further fueling speculation and excitement. However, their efforts were thwarted by a sudden influx of seawater that flooded the pit, a recurring obstacle that would become a notorious challenge for all future excavators. Despite these setbacks, the Onslow Company's endeavors significantly contributed to the Oak Island legend, highlighting the complex engineering involved and the tantalizing possibility of hidden treasure. Their work laid the groundwork for subsequent expeditions and helped to cement Oak Island's place in treasure hunting lore. Though the Onslow Company ultimately failed to unearth the fabled treasure, their pursuit of it captured the imagination of adventurers and treasure hunters for generations to come, ensuring that the enigma of Oak Island would persist as one of history's most intriguing unsolved mysteries. The Truro Company's excavation attempt. The Truro Company, formed in 1849, represents one of the most methodical and determined attempts to unearth the elusive treasure believed to be hidden on Oak Island. This Nova Scotia island, already steeped in legend and mystery, had been the site of several prior excavation efforts, notably by the Onslow Company earlier in the 19th century. The Truro Company, comprising a group of investors from Truro, Nova Scotia, was led by Dr. David Barnes and spurred by reports of intriguing artifacts and previous engineering feats discovered within the infamous money pit. With high hopes and a strategic approach, they resumed the challenging excavation, aiming to penetrate deeper and more systematically than their predecessors. Their efforts were marked by significant advancements, including the use of steam-powered pumps to combat the persistent flooding that had stymied earlier digs. At a depth of around 98 feet, the Truro Company unearthed layers of coconut fiber and charcoal, materials not native to the island, which added to the speculation that the pit was the work of skilled and deliberate hands. However, their most notable find was a stone with mysterious, undecipherable inscriptions, which some believed to be a coded message related to the treasure. Despite their innovative techniques and relentless pursuit, the company faced continuous setbacks from the flooding tunnels, which seemed to be ingeniously designed to protect whatever lay below. Their excavation eventually became too perilous and costly to continue, leading to the abandonment of their efforts. The Truro Company's exploration did not yield the treasure they sought, but it significantly enriched the lore and mystique surrounding Oak Island. Their findings, particularly the enigmatic stone and foreign materials, fueled further speculation and inspired future generations of treasure hunters, maintaining Oak Island's status as one of the world's most captivating unsolved mysteries. The Oak Island Association and tragic deaths. The next major excavation attempt was carried out in 1861 by the Oak Island Association. They were driven by curiosity and wealth and therefore attempted to solve the money pit riddles. They worked hard and spent hours to reach 88 feet. They lost one of their own when the pit bottom collapsed, destroying their hopes. The people heard about phantom pirates preserving the island's loot after the loss. The original pit was re-excavated to a depth of 88 feet, with 2 additional shafts dug. The first missed its intended goal, a purported flood tunnel, while the second intersected the original shaft via a branched-off tunnel approximately 105 feet deep. When a purported flood tunnel was breached once more, both of these shafts became flooded. At one point, one of the platforms installed in the original shaft at 98 feet failed and fell to a lower level. The effect caused the next 2 platforms to fall as well, leaving any treasure 119 feet below the earth, along with an estimated 10,000 board feet of lumber. The first of 6 accidental deaths during excavations occurred during the fall of 1861 when a pump engine boiler burst. The explosion was first mentioned in an 1863 novel titled Rambles Among the Blue Noses. The Oak Island Association also worked in Smith's Cove, drilling many shafts in an attempt to shut off and seal the suspected flood tunnels. All of these tactics failed in the end, as the tide eventually burst through the barricades that had been set in place. In 1864, a final attempt was made to intersect the money pit, which resulted in the reported breaching of flood tunnels. By this point, salt water was eroding the walls of the original shaft, which some miners refused to enter. The initial shaft was evaluated by mining engineers who ruled it hazardous, and the business abandoned its operations when its funding ran out. In 1866, the Oak Island Eldorado Company, also known as the Halifax Company, was created to find the treasure. By this point, prior treasure hunters had created numerous shafts, boreholes, and tunnels beneath Oak Island. When a plan to shut down the supposed flood tunnels from Smith's Cove failed, the corporation chose to focus on the original main shaft. Drilling exploratory holes yielded fragments of wood, additional coconut fiber, soft clay, and blue mud. After finding nothing of interest, the group stopped up the hunt in 1867. Another brave crew of explorers braved Oak Island's fables decades later, as the 18th century ended. They found a sheepskin parchment with mysterious inscriptions during their exhaustive search. Their best efforts failed to reveal the significance, adding to the island's mystery. Despite the perplexing discovery, the explorers continued on their quest for adventure and money. Another tragedy overshadowed their quest when Maynard Kaiser died while being raised from the pit. After his rope untangled from the pulley, the island was shrouded in suspicion of an old curse ready to claim its next victim. President Roosevelt's involvement and more treasure hunting. After the Oak Island Association's failure, the hype of the island and its evasive treasure cooled down a bit. However, this lack of interest was short-lived as the late President of the United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was soon lured into the fascinating history surrounding Oak Island. Inspired by stories about his family's maritime adventures, Roosevelt became fascinated by the island's ongoing mystery, a passion that lasted until his death in 1945. Despite his rigorous duty as president, Roosevelt was a member of the Old Savage Group, a group of explorers dedicated to discovering the mysteries of Oak Island. Although the group's efforts generated little headway in locating the island's rumored wealth, Roosevelt remained attentive, continuously watching events and attempts at investigation. In 1939, Roosevelt secretly planned a visit to Oak Island, but due to terrible weather conditions and diplomatic factors beyond his control, his intended voyage was thwarted. Nonetheless, his great interest in the island's mysteries remained, demonstrating the lasting fascination of Oak Island's supposed riches. Meanwhile, in 1928, Gilbert Hedden, a famous New York businessman, became enthralled by the mystery surrounding Oak Island. Hedden, the owner of a steel fabrication company, was captivated by an article chronicling the island's confusing history, particularly the engineering obstacles faced by past explorers. Hedden, eager to put his talents to use and try his luck in discovering Oak Island's elusive wealth, set off on an expedition to the island with his business partner, Fred Blair. Hedden and Blair, armed with determination and engineering knowledge, began drilling operations, aiming to uncover the secrets hidden beneath Oak Island's surface. Their efforts were rewarded with a stunning discovery, a stone with markings that resembled those found in the Money Pit in 1804. Furthermore, their exploration revealed ancient lumber at Smith's Cove, typical of the materials used in the pit's initial construction, implying the presence of unfathomable wealth waiting to be discovered. Not long after, in the 1900s and 38, another treasure hunter, Irwin Hamilton, came to Oak Island, ready to join the search for the island's buried treasures. Hamilton's efforts paid off, as he made 2 big discoveries during his drilling efforts. Hamilton discovered a wealth of interesting pebbles and gravel at a depth of about 190 feet within the Money Pit, which had been purposefully put by unknown hands. Furthermore, his excavation revealed a strange layer of natural limestone containing oak fragments, prompting Hamilton to speculate on the existence of a wooden layer beneath the limestone, a tantalizing clue pointing to the presence of ancient structures or artifacts buried beneath Oak Island's enigmatic surface. Despite his joy at these findings, Hamilton found himself at a crossroads, facing the enormous job of uncovering the island's mysteries. Robert Restall and more explorers. Robert Restall set off on an expedition to Oak Island in 1959, full of hope and enthusiasm, just like the explorers who came before him. However, his journey turned terrible. While investigating the island, Restall came across a stone carved with the year 1704, creating greater interest in the island's mysteries. Restall's assignment was abruptly cut short when he saw a horrific event. To conduct his adventure freely, Restall relocated his family to Oak Island. Tragically, while working near the money pit, Restall accidentally inhaled lethal carbon monoxide fumes from an engine, leading him to pass out and fall into the pit. The scenario became much more devastating when Restall's son, Robert Restall Jr., saw his father fall and hurried to the pit in a desperate bid to save him. Unbeknownst to him, he succumbed to the deadly vapors, replicating his father's awful death. The sadness grew as two other workers in the area, Carl Grazer and Cyril Hiltz, valiantly sought to descend into the pit to help the Restall men. Tragically, they too succumbed to carbon monoxide and died in the money pit. The events of that day were the island's most severe calamity, with 4 people killed in a single tragic incident. The money pit looked to be living up to the foreboding myth surrounding it, implying that 7 deaths were required before the treasure could be exposed. Despite the hazards and alarming indicators, the fascination of Oak Island remained. In the same year as the Restall tragedy, Robert Dunfield arrived on the island, unaffected by the tragic events that had occurred. Dunfield set out on an enormous excavation effort, armed with heavy machinery such as cranes and bulldozers, anxious to dive further into the money pit's mysteries. Meanwhile, in 1965, another explorer named Daniel C. Blankenship went to Oak Island in search of answers. His efforts generated intriguing findings, such as a hand-forged nail, a washer, and a stone-shaped heart buried 60 feet beneath the surface. Although these items appeared confusing on their own, they were part of a broader conundrum that needed to be solved. Despite the setbacks and tragedies that had befallen past explorers, the effort to unravel Oak Island's mysteries remained unabated, inspired by the faith that one day, enough clues would be discovered to finally solve the enigma. The Triton Alliance and the Dead End. In the late 1960s, a gang of treasure hunters known as the Triton Alliance set out to find a legendary treasure. They planned to employ big machinery and advanced technology to seek and recover this elusive treasure. They were motivated by the attraction of the unknown and the prospect of immense riches lurking under the Earth's surface. Despite their efforts, the Triton Alliance first experienced disappointment. While they were able to retrieve several items, including a pair of 300-year-old wrought iron scissors, their extensive search failed to provide the wealth they sought. Despite setbacks, the dedicated squad refused to quit its quest. It wasn't until 1976 that the Triton Alliance devised a groundbreaking strategy to perhaps break their impasse. With the introduction of modern technology that was not available during past trips, they chose to dig a borehole 10x steel tube into the Earth. This novel strategy involved lowering a camera into the Earth's depths, giving them a unique vantage point from which to investigate undiscovered territory. Their efforts were met with enthusiasm and expectation as the camera provided tantalizing peeks of what lay beneath. Surprisingly, the photographs revealed a hidden realm full of fascinating items and vestiges from the past. The finds included leather shoes, tools, and, to their surprise, a severed human hand. Among the unsettling findings, the Triton Alliance's spirits rose when they laid sight of 3 chests, resembling those commonly associated with buried treasure. It was an overwhelming emotional moment for the team, tarnished only by the awful remembrance of the human remains they had discovered. The Triton Alliance, eager to reclaim the treasures seen through the camera lens, dispatched divers into the shaft's depths. However, their attempts were met with dissatisfaction, as the tumultuous currents and swirling dirt blocked their eyesight, making their objective practically difficult. Despite their best attempts, the divers were unable to find any of the artifacts depicted in the video. As disappointment grew, disaster struck when the shaft collapsed moments after the divers chose to leave. After being forced to abandon their dig, the Triton Alliance faced yet another setback in their search for the elusive treasure. Determined not to give up, the group attempted to resume their efforts, but eventually bowed to the hard realities of financial limits. Like so many before them, the Triton Alliance's hunt for the treasure ended in uncertainty and unresolved questions, leaving a legacy of mystery and intrigue. Oak Island's popularity and conflict. Oak Island became famous in 1979 after being featured on the TV show In Search of. This program created significant interest in the island's alleged buried treasure, attracting viewers from all around the world. The strange tales and astonishing discoveries surrounding the treasure search fueled public interest even more. However, with reports circulating of a stunning £2 million buried on the island, tensions inevitably erupted. In 1983, the Triton Alliance and Fred Nolan clashed over ownership of some areas of Oak Island. Legal fights ensued, resulting in setbacks for both sides. Fred Nolan's company sustained damages that had a substantial influence on the Triton Alliance's tourist industry. Despite appeals and ongoing legal proceedings, Oak Island remained relatively silent for more than a decade, from 1990 to 2005. Then came the Lagina Brothers. Their arrival revitalized the search for Oak Island's hidden wealth, reigniting public interest and laying the groundwork for the next chapter in the island's rich history. The Lagina Brothers. Oak Island is one of the most captivating adventure stories. This mysterious island off Nova Scotia, Canada, is said to harbor centuries-old treasures. Despite the island's dangers and stories, brave explorers continue to seek its secrets. Rick and Marty Lagina are important to the modern search for Oak Island's wealth. They started with a casual meeting that became a lifelong obsession. Rick, 11, read a Reader's Digest article on the island's supposed riches in 1965. He had no idea that this unexpected finding would change his life. Rick's father shared a Wall Street Journal article that piqued his interest in Oak Island's strange past. Rick persevered despite curses and tragedies that plagued past treasure hunters. He was drawn to these traditions by the prospect of finding history's greatest treasure. Rick's inherent curiosity boosted his commitment. He was curious and adventurous as a child in Kingsford, Michigan. Rick led a group of local kids on his first treasure hunt in 1964, investigating a strange granite boulder. Rick's determination held even though they only found dirt. Rick saw the failed attempt as a foreshadowing of his Oak Island journey. He knew there was a mystery beneath the surface and wanted to solve it. His brother Marty, also enchanted by Oak Island, joined him in this daring search for wealth. Their road has been difficult. From hazardous terrain to mistrust, the Lagina brothers have overcome many challenges. Each setback strengthens their drive, fueling their hope that they can discover Oak Island's greatest secret. With a devotion that spans time and space, the Lagina brothers continue to investigate Oak Island. In 2005, a piece of the island was for sale, encouraging the Lagina brothers to grasp the opportunity. They invested half of their money and acquired a 50% ownership in Oak Island Tours Incorporated, which marked the start of their treasure hunting expedition. The brothers were motivated by a desire that had been growing since childhood, the temptation of discovering secret treasures on Oak Island, which had long been veiled in mystery and folklore, drove their quest. They were undeterred by the obstacles that lay ahead. To begin their voyage, Rick and Marty used contemporary technology that previous explorers could only dream of. Armed with cutting-edge technology, they set out to investigate not only the famed Money Pit, but also other unexplored sections of the island. Previous treasure hunters had struggled with the pit's floods, but their technological prowess was unmatched. They pressed on, unafraid of the island's secrets, thanks to their inventive answers. Their efforts were not unnoticed. The History Channel became aware of the Lagina brothers' tireless pursuit of the Oak Island mystery and saw promise in their narrative. This prompted the production of The Curse of Oak Island, a television series that followed their trip. The show The Curse of Oak Island not only drew a larger audience, but also supplied valuable materials for the brothers' exploration. It boosted the credibility of the treasure hunt. Viewers from all over the world tuned in, enthralled by the growing story of the Lagina brothers' quest. The show became a venue for discussing discoveries, setbacks, and triumphs, bringing the brothers closer to their goals. Despite their adolescent fantasies of treasure hunting, Rick and Marty waited until later in life to go on their journey. With maturity came insight and preparedness. Marty's experience with gas wells and excavating, combined with his extensive professional network, was crucial. The first project. The Lagina brothers began their treasure hunting quest with a grand plan: to excavate a swamp on Oak Island. This expedition sought to probe further into the island's mysteries than any previous explorer had done. Their efforts paid off when they discovered a unique artifact, a Spanish copper coin from the 17th century. This discovery revealed physical proof of early Spanish occupancy on the island, igniting debate and many speculations about the island's past and potential treasure. One popular notion said that the riches may have belonged to King Solomon, lending mystery and historical weight to the Lagina brothers' quest. This initial discovery laid the groundwork for their future initiatives and inspired their ambition to uncover Oak Island's secrets. As their voyage progressed, the Lagina Brothers show gained traction, with the first 2 seasons laying the basis for a thrilling adventure. However, it was during the 3rd season that they achieved their most important advances. Rick and Marty Lagina discovered the island's most astonishing treasures to date by collaborating with specialists and using advanced technologies such as sonar readings and borehole 10x draining. Among their discoveries were a Roman sword and a Portuguese carving, both of which indicated a rich tapestry of historical exchanges and influences. However, the most intriguing revelation was the confirmation that the Aztecs had visited the island in the ancient past, adding another layer of complexity to Oak Island's cryptic history. Rick Lagina, thinking about his lifetime interest in treasure hunting, saw the Oak Island mission as the fulfillment of a childhood fantasy. He saw the journey not just as a search for monetary gain, but also as an opportunity to uncover untold stories from the past. For Rick, each day of investigation seemed like turning a page in a compelling novel, with Oak Island serving as the setting for a centuries-spanning epic. In his opinion, life is similar to a treasure hunt, with each person following their unique path in search of meaning and fulfillment. The Lagina brothers saw the Oak Island voyage as a tangible incarnation of this metaphorical quest, a real-life adventure full of excitement, mystery, and the possibility of discovery. The Oak Island Enigma Unveiled. In the show's 3rd segment, The Curse of Oak Island, the Lagina brothers were given a rare gift, a French map from 1647. This chart, which was entirely in French, provided critical insights into the secrets of Oak Island. Significant markers including an anchor, a valve, and a hatch were depicted on the map to help explorers find the island's elusive treasure. These characteristics offered vital clues for the Lagina brothers, providing instruction that previous explorers lacked. Furthermore, the map hinted at an intriguing possibility that the riches may have originated in Africa. Symbols and clues hidden in the map hinted at a connection to the continent, causing the treasure hunters to become even more intrigued and speculate. The Oak Island mystery is even linked to the iconic Titanic disaster. There was speculation that Vincent Astor, the heir to the Astor family fortune, contributed a significant sum of money to fund the Oak Island excavation. Astor's ardent belief in the existence of a significant treasure on the island prompted him to back the quest. He even considered reclaiming the mythical Ark of the Covenant. This connection to the Titanic tragedy is painful, as Astor's father, John Jacob Astor IV, died in the Titanic's sinking. Another intriguing character in the Oak Island narrative is Barry Fell, a Harvard naturalist and archaeologist. Fell suggested a theory that the engravings on Oak Island were made by Coptic Christians from North Africa, implying that the site was visited anciently. His notion deepened the riddle by connecting it to cultures and civilizations outside of North America. The Curse of Oak Island is more than simply entertainment. It has had a real impact on the lives of its audience. One ardent fan, confronted with floods during Hurricane Harvey, used an idea inspired by the show, Aquadam, to safeguard his property. This unexpected application of knowledge gained from the show saved his home from the floodwaters. Finally, scholar Joy Steele advances a proposal that questions common thinking concerning Oak Island. She suggests that the British Army exploited the island's various pits, notably the famed Money Pit, as gigantic tar storage vessels. Steele supports her theory with similar tar storage pits found at shipbuilding sites in North Carolina, raising doubts about the true nature of Oak Island's riddles. Thank you for watching the video. Stay tuned for more exciting ones.